Linux Migration Guide, Part 3. In this part of the Linux Migration Guide, I will be showing you 3 excellent beginner-friendly Linux flavors for you novice users who want to move away from Windows or Mac OS. The first distro I am going to show you is Bodied Linux, a beautiful Linux flavor with a green essence, and a desktop interface called Moksha. I do not know what this word actually means, nor do I know where it comes from, but that's irrelevant. What we need to focus on is if this distro is right for you. Body is based on Ubuntu Linux, which is based on Debian, the granddaddy to many Linux distros, so it's compatible with most software written for Ubuntu and Debian. However, Body has not gotten any major updates or releases over the past 2 or so years, so some packages might be outdated as a result, although it's based on Ubuntu 20.04, which is still supported at the time of this video being produced, so you can still use it and hope that the developers eventually release another version. I really hope Bodied Linux surprises us with a new major release full of great features. I love this distro. Many people like Body too, because it's easy to use and set up, plus, it looks stunning, so this is what makes it fairly popular. But Mint and Ubuntu still dominate the Linux market on desktops, as they are the best beginner-friendly distributions out there. However, this is not to say Body is not beginner-friendly. It surely is. That's why I highly recommend you try it if you're keen on switching to Linux. The next distro we are looking at is Peppermint OS, a lightweight Linux distribution that recently got a new release, that gave it a rather nice overhaul, and many improvements. I am impressed to hear that, because I love this distro. Plus, it's also great for new Linux users, so you should not have any issues using it. But do keep in mind that not all distros work out of the box on all existing hardware. Mint works well with most devices, Peppermint OS works well on older PCs, but it might not necessarily work with drivers, dongles, accessories, etc. The plug-and-play side in Linux seems to have gotten pretty good, but it's still a bit behind in some distros. The third and final distro we are looking at today is Ubuntu Studio, a rather nice distro that focuses on giving you as much as you could possibly want. This edition of Ubuntu is focused at those of you who do video editing, rendering, gaming, music production, as well as digital artwork and all sorts of things related to creativity. Thus, I highly recommend you give Ubuntu Studio a try. It is an amazing distribution. It comes with many free and open source programs, including Blender, GIMP, Audacity, LMMS, Yoshimi Synthesizer, Hydrogen Drum Beat Maker, Quarto, Inkscape, DaVinci Resolve, LibreOffice, Scribus, VLC Media Player, and so much more, so you're guaranteed to have hours of fun doing whatever you want. This distro is great for older PCs too. Out of all the 3 distros we have looked at, which one is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments section below. Personally, if I had to choose another Linux distro to go with, I would pick Ubuntu Studio, as I love doing many things surrounding creation and image manipulation. I also like to make basic music in LMMS, plus, I love Krita, GIMP, Blender, and all those digital artwork applications. You can create fascinating things with them. The same goes for music creation. You could make basic beats and tunes that sound really cool, and you could also do all your office work right there and then using LibreOffice. And don't be afraid to ditch overpriced paid-for software in favor of the free and open source stuff. Trust me, some free software will blow your mind, and you will probably want to save some money. So going with Linux and using free software is going to guarantee you will save a lot of money. So if you're poor and cannot afford a new PC running Windows 11, then maybe it's time you learn something new, and switch to Linux today. Well, not literally, you can't just jump hoops and expect everything to be the same, and many Windows users who rely on their software does not usually work on Linux, so they have a hard and rather frustrating time using Linux. But people like me who barely use any Windows-specific software will have no issue using Linux, and for gamers, I really can't say, but considering what I have heard, it seems like Linux is starting to gain attention in the gaming area. Steam have the Steam Deck, a gaming device running Linux, officially SteamOS, and ProtonDB allows you to run Windows games on Linux using Steam. So if gaming on Linux is good, I would love to hear about your opinions on it. Please let me know what you think of gaming on Linux in the comments, and share any other opinions or thoughts you might have. In the next part of this series, we are going to look at running Windows inside of Linux using virtualization software. This can help you take your Windows software with you, without needing to set up a dual boot system. Generally speaking, dual boots are dangerous because corruption is a high possibility, so it's much safer to just run one OS or the other, unless you really need both to be on your PC, and a Windows virtual machine generally works really well, even on older hardware, but you will need something fairly beefy, with at least 8 GB of RAM, if not more, and you need plenty of hard drive space to store all those VMs, and this way, it lets you use your Windows-only software while you're still using Linux. Indeed, this is a very convenient way to do this, because it's easier for newcomers, and you're more likely to get most of your software working. Now gaming, that's a different story for a different time, but what I have heard is that you need to pass through graphics cards, which is not easy to do, and depending on the virtualization software you use, this may or may not work, but retro gaming should most certainly be doable, on account of the fact your graphics is good enough to run PlayStation 2 and original Xbox games. You should also be able to run Nintendo emulators, Sega emulators, etc. Most of these emulators support Linux too though, so it is not necessary so much to have a Windows VM if all your software is right there on Linux, and honestly, I think it's better to use stuff that supports your OS natively, rather than using it through compatibility layers or virtual machines, and VMs need good hardware to function adequately. Not all hardware is created equal, so this may or may not be the right thing for you, but we will look more into that in our next video.